nurturing healthy connections. You know, it's interesting. We are, constantly surrounded by all sorts of remarkable people. And yet sometimes we struggle with our connections, whether it's with family or friends. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about boundaries. We're going to talk a little bit about how to take that love that's in your heart and allow it to be the fullness of your expression. We have a quote today, I believe from Brene Brown. Participants who put true belonging into practice talked openly about their healthy connections. You know, it's in fact, this research confirmed what I found in my earlier work. The clearer and more respected the boundaries, the higher the level of empathy and compassion for others. Fewer clear boundaries, less openness. It's hard to stay kind-hearted when you feel people are taking advantage of you or threatening you. That's Brene Brown. It's, when we look at our lives, I mean, sometimes we, forget how to use words like no, because we think, well, I should do this or I should do that. But instead of the should, it would be a really good idea instead to just simply open our hearts and find that love within. Start here each day, start at the core of our being, and then from there move forward into the day. I wanted to start this morning by sharing one of the meditations for self-help that is in The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And this one is on page 515, and it's Divine Companionship. I have an inner friend who walks and talks with me daily. It is not far off, but is within me, a constant companion. I shall never become lonely, for my friend is always near. I have to speak, and it answers. Before ever my lips spoke, it told me of its love. Oh, my kind friend, how dear to me is thy presence. The spirit within me is my friend. When I think about those words, I think about the value of companionship, and we know we have this inner aspect of ourselves that is so perfect, whole, and complete. And then we have the world out here, which sometimes causes us to react. And what we want to do instead is to begin to move forward with this journey, allowing ourselves to do what needs to be done. And so as we set boundaries, boundaries can be good, right? In fact, they're very, very good. And so I want to share a reading that also comes from Brene Brown, her book, Braving the Wilderness. Let me just share this with you. There are always boundaries, even in the wilderness. When we commit to getting closer, we're committing to eventually experiencing real face-to-face conflict. Whether it's over dinner, at work, or in a grocery line, in-person conflict is always hard and uncomfortable. And when it comes to family, it's even harder and more painful. If your family is anything like mine, you've been required to summon love and decency in the face of emotions that range from minor frustration to rage. Now, maintaining the courage to stand alone when necessary in the midst of family or community or angry strangers feels like an untamed wilderness. When I get to the point where I am, screw this, it's too hard, I'm too lost, I hear Maya Angelou's words again. The price is high. The reward is great. I'll say that again. The price is high. The reward is great. But here's a question that came up for me during this research. Where's the line? Is there a line in the wilderness between what behavior is tolerable and what isn't? The reward may be great, but do I have to put up with someone tearing me down or questioning my actual right to exist? Is there a line that shouldn't be crossed? The answer is yes. Participants who put true belonging into practice talked openly about their boundaries. In fact, this research confirmed what I found in my earlier work. The clearer and more respected the boundaries, the higher the level of empathy and compassion for others. Fewer clear boundaries, less openness. It's hard to stay kind-hearted when you feel people are taking advantage of you or threatening you. So when we set boundaries, it's a simple thing. It's really about starting right here at the core of your being. And as you start there, to open yourself up to say exactly what you mean. If it is a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. And remember, no really is a complete sentence. You don't have to sit back and justify it or, sort of give a bunch of excuses why you're saying no, because that sometimes leads us to saying some little lies that, allow us to get out of whatever we're trying to get out of. But truth is far greater. It requires less energy. It is immediate and instant, and it allows us to move forward. And it is one of those boundaries. When you speak truth, day by day, moment by moment, it gets easier and easier. And it's part of our spiritual journey to realize that each and every one of us are part of this whole. We all live, move, and have our being within this divine presence. So we have this companion. And if we turn to that, rather than reacting to the world around us, we quickly begin to see the possibility of having harmonious relationships. Now, some people you're going to say no to, and they're going to question it or be like, how dare you kind of thing. But the reality is, lying about what you want just causes you to suffer. Your friend phones up and says, hey, do you want to go to the movies tonight? And you're like, I'm exhausted from work. I've got to be in really early tomorrow. Oh, gosh, I don't want to go. Yeah, okay, Sarah, let's go. And then there's resentment that she even asked. It's hard to enjoy the movie because already there's this idea that somehow I am stuck doing something that I don't want to do. So the energy of life itself is drained out of us whenever we settle for something less than what we really wanted and needed. Okay. Science Mind point of view is setting and maintaining boundaries is vital for honoring our spiritual journey and safeguarding our mental and emotional well-being. And we know this is true. You just bought yourself a new truck and your neighbor goes, hey, I'm moving in 2 weeks. Can I use your truck? And you're like, it's a new truck. I don't want to loan it. Or worse yet, I don't want to move you. But what do we sometimes say? Yeah, sure. How can I help? It's not something we want to do. And then when we do something we don't want to do, there's this resentment toward the other person. So it's hard to create harmonious relationships when in our mind we're holding a resentment, when we're thinking like, why would you ask somebody with a brand new truck to move you? Like, come on. And so we get into this thing in our head. Tell the truth and do it quickly. And when we set these boundaries where I agree to tell truth at all times, that's uncomfortable in the beginning. It's a little difficult to sit back and say, hey, I don't want to go shopping with you today. I don't want to go to the movies. But it's okay to say that. A little word pops up sometimes when we're in a situation where we'd rather say no. And the little word that pops up is should. Have you ever used that word? You ever thought that word in your mind where you're moving along and all of a sudden there's something coming up and you're going, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But I should do it because, and we put that should in there. And I'm just going to say right now, if it's a should, it's probably a no. Shoulds are probably no's. So I want to invite you to really touch your heart and just know what you really want, what's really important to you. And then from there, to tell the truth. tell the truth. One of the things I really, truly appreciate about my husband, well, there's many things actually, but one of the things that I've appreciated right from the beginning is if I get dressed in the morning and go, honey, what do you think? He'll go, no, it doesn't work. He'll tell me the truth. Honey, do you like this dress? No, actually, it doesn't quite suit you. And I love that, because a lot of times we'll go shopping with friends and we'll say, well, what do you think? And, it's like, I really like it. So you expect your friend to say they really like it. But if it looks terrible, your friend should say, no, it looks terrible. Have you ever seen somebody walk out of a washroom with their skirt tucked into the back of their pantyhose? Did you tell them? Or did you just walk away laughing? Or somebody walks out of the washroom and they got toilet paper stuck to the bottom of their shoe. Do you tell them? The thing is that we want to create these really remarkable, powerful lives for ourselves. And in the process, we're believing somehow that we need to, I don't know, give in to everything around us. But what does that say about what I feel about me? When I don't set a boundary, basically what I'm telling myself is that I can't trust myself, for starters. But secondly, that I am less important than someone else. But if we're all unique and special, if we're all part of this divine universe, if we're all one, how can I be less than? It's not even possible. I can't be less than. So we journey along with this sense of possibility and opportunity, and we try to figure out what's what. And it's so important to take the time to really check in. What do I need? Because when we don't meet our needs, we get angry, we get annoyed, we get frustrated, we get hurt. Because, they should have known what I wanted, needed, or they should have known. Have you ever thought that with your spouse or with a neighbor or your best friend? It's like, well, they should know. They don't know. You have to tell them. You got to speak the truth. You got to shout it out from the rooftops. In The Science of Mind, talks about boundaries extend beyond the physical realm. They also involve mental and emotional spaces, shaping the thoughts we allow into our consciousness. Thoughts that go into our subconscious. Healthy thought boundaries enable us to cultivate clarity and align our intentions with highest good. Since we're interconnected, these boundaries are as much an internal practice as an external one. So, you know how sometimes you're in a situation and you start thinking, oh, this is awful. I don't want to be here. Well, as soon as that thought enters your mind, it's time to honor what you need and to get up and give your, appreciation, your gratitude, whatever, for the event, or simply slip out because it's important to honor that boundary within yourself. Boundaries are an expression of self-love and respect. Yeah, they really are. It's not about exclusion. They're essential expressions of self-respect and self-love. So when we say no, when we mean no, that's loving ourselves. That's honoring us. Now, if it creates a conflict, right? Anybody here ever have a conflict in your relationships? Sometimes they seem hard to deal with, but if we go into a conflict with a desire to be right, we will not be able to hear what the other person is saying. We will kind of block that out because we have our own narrative running. However, if we're in a conflict and we decide to be curious about the other individual, that we want to understand the other individual. And so we listen instead of talking. We listen instead of preparing our reactions. We listen with an open heart and an open mind. And by doing that, we actually create this remarkable space where relationships can grow, where they can truly expand, and a healing happens. You see, so often we are making judgments about the other person's thoughts or feelings, but the minute we actually take time to listen to them, we might discover something new. And because they've been listened to, they may be more likely to listen to us as well. So we create space, boundaries, clear communication, a willingness to listen to one another. These are important parts of how we can really respect ourselves and others. Boundaries help ensure that our interactions are mutually beneficial, and it honors the needs of all parties involved. So that's what makes it great. Really, really great. Science Mind teaches that every individual is a unique expression of the universal mind, deserving of respect and love. And setting boundaries is a way to affirm that we are worthy of care, protection, and honor. By establishing clear boundaries, we create space where our authentic selves can grow and thrive. You see, if I don't honor me, why would I expect you to? But have you ever noticed, like, somebody might look at you and go, whoa, you've gained a few pounds. And you think, how dare you? How dare you point that out? That's very disrespectful. So you might get all up in it about that. You probably won't say anything, but you'll get all up in it. But think back, what did you say to yourself when you got dressed this morning? Or when you looked in the mirror? Or when you were standing in the shower? Like, what was your self-talk? See, our self-talk is often mirrored out in front of us. So we want to really pay attention to what we're thinking about, what we think about us, what we think about the world around us. All of it matters. Our words have power, our thoughts have power. And if we change our thinking, we can, in fact, change our life. So what is it that we're going to do in order to create these clearer boundaries? Well, for starters, it's about going face to face with whoever you have a challenge with. Don't go to somebody else. They don't know. They probably don't care. Well, they might, but the reality is that we need to go to the source if we have a problem, because sometimes we've misread the situation. And by having an open, honest, clear conversation where we truly listen to the other person, we can find that we are, in fact, creating a deeper connection with each other. See, once we work through the discomfort, once we work through the challenge, what we've done is we've opened space for a real loving connection where we love ourselves, we love others, and we're able to connect that all together. Establishing our boundaries is really important to our spiritual growth. Like, how can we grow if we're hiding something, especially from somebody really close to us, which tends to be sometimes the people we hide things from? I don't want to tell them that or her that. It's like, or them that. It's like, I don't know. So we want to make sure that our boundaries are clear, constant, and that they're complete in themselves. So I say no to something because I don't want to do it. No is a complete sentence. Barbara, do you want to go shopping this afternoon? No, thank you. If the answer had been, yes, I'd love that. I would say yes. And then I would go shopping. I wouldn't defend the yes. But when we say no, we sometimes go, well, you know, I'm a little bit tired from doing the service. Or, oh, you know, I really need to have a rest. Oh, yeah. We start making excuses. We start coming up with things that really have no weight, no bearing, have no, they really don't matter in the long run. And we start making excuses. And we start making excuses. If we can't find good ones that are going to get us out of this thing, then we sometimes make up excuses that aren't true. And that would be a lie. And when we tell lies, there's something inside of us that feels like, oh, it's like a little icky. So we want to avoid that if we can. So the safeguard, to safeguard our mental and emotional well-being and creating the space necessary to focus on our spiritual practice and our personal development, because we got to do both, right? And clear boundaries are going to help in both places, because it helps to remove distractions and negative influence that can take us off the path, like telling those lies. That kind of takes us off the path. Then we start feeling guilty or ashamed, and we don't want to do that. That's not taking us where we want to go. As spiritual beings and as human beings, we are constantly growing and evolving. And boundaries help to set up a sacred environment where this growth can really flourish. And by setting the limits and honoring our needs, we create a nurturing space of reflection, prayer, and mindfulness, allowing us to deepen our connection with the divine. And when my connection feels really, really strong, then I'm able to meet you in that strength. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not worried about what you have to say. I'm connected with the divinity inside of me. I can feel it in my bones, and I can feel it in my thoughts. It's something that's so deep and so beautiful that I don't want to let it go. And so I tell the truth. I set boundaries, and I do what needs to be done to honor the path that I'm on. So this is where we're, working with. We start with us. I met a woman, I know I mentioned this before, but I met a woman in the pet store, and she said, yeah, when I left the house today, I decided to leave with my soul leading. And I thought, what a beautiful way to leave the house. I'm gonna lead with this soul leading energy, which means I'm going to connect with everybody around. Her and I had a lovely conversation. She had a lovely conversation with the clerk at the store. And it was interesting to watch how that happens with this one intention that she set to come into community where we're having a conversation that's really uplifting and beautiful, all about this spiritual stuff. And it's like the more we cultivate it within ourselves, the more it's out in the world, taking us where we want to go. And remember, healthy relationships are rooted in respect and understanding, and clear boundaries are really about maintaining these functions or these foundations. So really, really important. And it needs to happen in your personal life, your professional life. You need to be true to yourself, because if you're not, others won't be. There has to be a strength in you that believes in you, that believes in you enough that you actually can do what it is you really want to do. Now, for a call to action today, just ask yourself where you may need some boundaries in your life. Identify what drains your energy and also what nourishes you. Because when you find those things out, it makes it easier to realize where the boundaries need to be set. Once you've pinpointed them, stand firm. Enforcing boundaries is self-respect, right? You got to love you if you want somebody else to love you. Honor yourself by making your well-being a priority. Okay? Taking time to love you, to spend time with you, to nurture you, to care for you. Creating self-love through boundary setting is a profound way to align with your divine nature. And as we embrace our individuality with deeply engaging with others, we create sacred space for personal and spiritual growth. So let's honor ourselves and each other with love, respect, and clarity. That's the journey, is to, when we're in a conflict, for example, to just take a breath and stop. And then bring love forward and watch how understanding or something unfolds from there. So take the time to really be with you, to figure out, who you are, where you are, what you are, and what you need moving forward, because that's the big one. What do I need? Who am I? What is important? How do I do it? Where am I going? We get lonely, we have lots of questions. And truthfully, this is true for all of us. It isn't one person who has this. We all struggle. And sometimes we struggle with the idea of God itself. What is it? Where is it? How come it isn't changing my life for me? And the reality is we are one with this divine presence. And in that oneness, we have the power, the wisdom, the strength to do what needs to be done. And also our intuition, that still small voice will always lead us in the right direction. So on that note, let's take a little minute in a small meditation just to anchor these ideas. So I take a breath and I relax my body and my mind. And I choose love. I choose to love myself deeply without apology. I take a breath and I remember to do my spiritual practice every day, for I love myself that much. It is in reading, in meditation, and in prayer that I find that inner strength. A strength that fuels all of my projects, fuels everything I do or need to do, and meets all my needs. I feel rewarded. I feel joyful. And I accept that all is well. This is the truth. And so it is.